Well, hello, everybody. I'm Laurie Ruettimann. I'm a writer and speaker and podcaster, but let's be honest, I don't have a real job. Not at all. I used to work in human resources and found that I was terrible at it. So I left that world and started writing and speaking and doing the work of being a voice of pragmatic realism. And that is my full time job. And that is why I'm here today. I'm here to take us through a discussion about what's happening now and what's next at work. This is really important to me because I believe everybody in this room who touches the world of work sits at the intersection of work, power, politics, and money. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And I need y'all to step into that world of work, power, politics, and money, because if you don't step into it, we're all going to get stepped on in the future. We need you on that wall. Are you with me? Yeah,
Yes.
okay, we need you there. I've got an esteemed panel today, and before we get started, I just want to welcome them and ask Pat, can you do a twirl and show us that jacket? Come on, everybody, look at this
Not
jacket.
kidding.
Woohoo, get up for Pat, my friend Pat. I love it. I love it. Okay, so we'll get the panel kicked off
That
with
one
intros. John, will you get us started?
Good morning, everyone. John Ferguson, Chief HR Officer at NASCAR, coming to you today from Daytona Beach, Florida. Happy to be here. We have about 7,000 employees across 20 racetrack and office locations. I'm excited to talk about the now and the next of work. But most importantly, I hope that I say something today that leaves you a little bit more curious about NASCAR. Thank you.
John, before we leave you, can you tell us what you know to be absolutely true about the world of work today?
What I know to absolutely be true. I coach a lot of employees to help them understand that your career path would not be linear. So I say follow your success path, pivot to the twists and the turns that will come your way. But guess what? Now is the time for leadership to do that, because nothing we know is linear. Everything is non-linear. So throw out this is how we've always done it. The X equals Y is no longer true because at 9 a.m., something came out. At 10 p.m., that is no longer valid. We typically have tried to play the game of planning for prevention. I think we need to also adopt a mindset of planning for recovery, because guess what? We are going to fail. We are going to skin our knees. But I think we need to think about the iterative and beta testing environments where we can make small adjustments, identify the trend line. And if it doesn't work out, then you fail fast and you fail forward. But in today's market, we have to be entrepreneurial and have an adaptable mindset and framework. And so I implore that to all leaders at all levels of an organization. We have to look at leadership differently.
Amazing. Thank you. Now, listen, my friend Pat with this beautiful jacket is going to tell us who she is and what she's all about. So, Pat, who are you?
Hi, I'm Pat Wadors. I'm a mother, a grandmother, but I'm also the head of HR at Intuitive Surgical. They do the Da Vinci robot, which I'm also a patient of, super proud to be there. Recent author, and I'm dyslexic.
You've got a lot of things going on in your life, including your new book. I want to know what you absolutely believe to be true about the world of work, but also what's a myth?
What's a myth?
Yeah.
True for work, I think it's the unpredictable, right? We can't see what's in front of us even in 6 months. That uncertainty means that all of us have to be more human, practice optimism, please. There's enough negativity. Practicing optimism helps all of us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
And say thank you. People work really hard. They don't get things perfect. And when they're stressing, just say thank you. Encourage people to be their best.
And what do we get wrong about the world of work? What do people say that's absolutely not true?
Yeah, there's no end to opportunity, right? So we fear AI. We fear things that we don't see yet. I think that if we continue to learn and stay curious, the world will evolve. Just be a learner, not a know-it-all. Be a learner.
Great. Thank you. Listen, we've got Brian on the end. Brian, what do you got? Who are you and what do you believe?
I'm Brian Elliott. I'm CEO of Work Forward. I spent 25 years as an executive in tech companies, startup CEO, Google, Slack, and Future Forum, which did research on workplace flexibility and what works and what doesn't. Today, I'm blessed to pick and choose where I go and what I do. I love conversations like this. And I spent a lot of time helping leaders navigate where we are today. What I think from a world of work perspective, there's a bunch of things going on that actually result in a lot of turmoil and uncertainty. And what I know to be true is that resilience and trust are the two most important things that you as leaders can bring to yourself and to your teams. With all the turmoil going on around us, finding a way to make sure you are taking care of your team, that you're building trust with them, but you're also giving people and yourself the opportunity to rest, to actually recover, to find ways in which you get your energy back, because this train is not slowing down. From a myth perspective, what worked for me in the 1980s does not work today. Picking up on John's
So
thing.
true.
Yeah.
I have heard board members walk into executive meetings and say, when I was coming up, this is the thing that worked, and by God, you're all going to do it. I also know that I, as a white guy who was not a primary caregiver, had an easier time of it than a lot of my colleagues. So I think we're in this world where you've got to, as a leader, set aside what made you successful, which is really hard. But if you can, then you can enlist a lot more trust in your own workforce and unlock a lot of potential. And I think that's going to be critical in the years ahead.
So grateful you're here. I had a rule about this panel that it was no buzzwords. So if you hear a buzzword, you just shout at us, okay? Because we're going to try to keep it real up here on stage. But unfortunately, we have to talk about AI, which is the most buzzword-driven thing in the entire universe right now. But I want to know, with so much uncertainty in the world at this point, John, I've heard organizations say we're working on our AI strategy. And I'm like, what the hell is an AI strategy in this crazy world right now? So talk to me about that. What is an AI strategy, and what does that mean if you work in the world of work, in HR or talent?
For me, I'm very curious. I implore everyone to be curious. Just how I said I want you to be NASCAR curious. I say treat AI like the intern. And so you don't have to get it right, but just dabble with it. So I look at how we looked at it for my HR team. Here's a funny story. I go to them, I'm like, hey, I want everyone to start just playing with it and testing with it. One of my colleagues was an English major. And so she just said, that just means you can't write if you're using AI. I think it can help with a few other things. It can help you do a grocery list. It can help you write a job description or perfect it. She started getting into it and she came back and was like, no, this is actually pretty cool because I'm saving time. I like to say that AI eliminates the blank sheet of paper in front of you. So I think we need to lean into the technology. I love a formula that Sherm came up with. AI plus HI equals ROI. So artificial intelligence plus human intelligence is where you're going to find the return on the investment. So I implore you all to tell your teams to lean into the technology. Will it change our job scopes? Yes. But I also believe that it will create other opportunities. I think about my daughters who are 8 and 10, who are digital natives. This is going to be a second language to them. This is all they're going to know. So I implore you all, if you don't have a strategy, that's okay. Guess what? Just open up various AI platform and start using it. Many of us have Copilot and various things in our workforce.
Thank you. Brian, I want to talk a little bit about the data around AI, company adoption. When I hear CHRO say to me, we're working on our AI strategy, I'm like, are you really? Or are you just in ChatGPT writing an email? So I want to know from your perspective, what does it look like out there in the world of work?
Ask the data geek a data question because I'm pretty good at it. Study after study that shows about a third of our employees are using AI and using it somewhat openly and having the conversation about it. They may not be using it fully, but they're using it regularly. There's about 20% that are secret cyborgs, Ethan Mollick's term for it, but they are people who are also using it and they're not telling their boss because they're afraid of displacement or afraid that they're going to be seen as incompetent or a cheat. And so the lack of conversation in a lot of companies is holding people back. The scarier part is there's about half the employee population that's like, I hope this blows over. And I think we should all worry about that because that's not a good position for any human to be in at this point in time. I think inside of companies, the more you're able to invest the time to let people experiment, to play with it first before you ask them to use it for work, the more you generate that comfort. The more you train your managers and leaders to have a conversation about permissible use, the more you get out of the memo says what people are supposed to do. So that's going to be a big deal in the years ahead.
Well, I like where you're going with this. And I hear you talking about the subtle ways that AI is used within the workforce. I'm thinking now about talent systems, rewards and recognition programs, learning and skill development, and agentic AI. I think there are some CHROs who are really knowledgeable and diving in, and some who are like, let's let the kids do it and figure it out. So, Pat, where does this fall at your organization? What's the strategy? And what are y'all thinking about in terms of your systems?
I love this question for so many reasons. If you think about the employee journey map, most companies have a guarantee, some kind of customer map. Like how do you attract a customer, land that customer, retain that customer, and keep them expanding with their product or services? Not many CHROs create that employee journey map the same way, and we should. If you're doing this map from attracting talent to onboarding, to ramping people up to their productivity, to their joy, and then supporting them in transitions, that new promotion, first-time managers, that relocation to a new country, new culture, and then potentially offboarding to their next adventure. All those transactions rest on technology stack. And all of them require data and insight. I love to look at the sentiment I want my employees to feel in that moment. I'm trying to build a healthy, high-performing company. You all feel like you can belong and be net better off. But I need insight for that. And I want to make sure you have time to develop. So what I'm doing is partnering with my CIO. We're going to map my tech stack and map those use cases. If you think about employee experience, I measured this once. 80% of the employee experience is between IT and HR and a little bit about your payroll. If I can get those things right, I need to know something, make that AI friendly, please. I need to do something, simple task, that's ripe for AI disruption. I need to do something more complex, so I need a little bit more support. That's going to have human interaction. And I need care. That's where we all play. And so that's the human intelligence side of this equation. So if I can map those things and look at the right, what I call chase the right rabbit, what is the right metric I want to chase? I think we'll be better served, and I can lean in with enthusiasm. I'll get it wrong, I promise you that, but we'll learn and improve capability along the way.
There are wonderful technology providers at Transform who are on that route, who are on that journey about embedding agentic AI and generative AI into platforms. But the thing I hear, John, is where's the money going to come from? Right? We don't have budget for any of this. We barely have budget to upgrade our payroll system. So talk to me, John, about the pressure between needing to meet society where it's at, but also the expense of bringing our tech platforms along.
So you can tell that all of us are probably at different stages of our AI strategy and journey. It's okay to start where you are and use what you have to do what you can. For us, it's very real. I can't say we're going to give everybody this account and it's going to cost this. But I also think we should equip our business leaders, and as we do our business planning, to think about where do we have mature areas of our organization. Typically, this is a line of business that is well-established, well-staffed, well-run. They've automated, and they have automated. But guess what? No one ever went back and said, could we scale back some of that resourcing so that we can invest over here in this more so entrepreneurial workshop within an established company? So I implore you all to bring that to the table. Well, hey, this group has been running well, or this group is seeing decreased revenue. Does it still make sense that we're giving the same level of investment there? So you can work within your same framework, but you get creative with the questions. I love how Pat says you partner with your chief technology officer, build partnerships and coalitions across your organization to get the support needed. And I guarantee you'll be able to find some pocket of funds to continue to explore.
Brian, I want to end with you on this. What are your thoughts about this conversation, and where do people start?
It's hard to prove the ROI. It always is, and it always has been from a tech perspective. We've all probably lived this at various stages. A shout out to my friends who used to work in the people team at Slack. We made pretty massive investments on the people and IT sides. And we saw that investment pay off because it meant that a lot of our employees who were engineers, who were salespeople, who were in the marketing team, were more effective in their job because they were spending less time chasing down policies. They were spending less time on paperwork. Even that simple act, if you're draining an hour or 2 hours or 4 hours a week out of an engineer in paperwork, that's a real cost.
Yeah.
It's often hard to quantify, but man, if you put an engineer from one environment into the next, they're going to gripe about it and you're going to hear about it loud and clear.
Well, this makes sense. And I'm thinking about this AI conversation and where we ended up talking about money, right? It's appropriate because I want to talk about what's happening in the world right now, in the economic world, in the political world. We're seeing so much change, so much chaos. Wherever you fall on the political spectrum, nobody woke up and thought, this is where we're going to be today. And there's so much agitation within our employee base. Leaders are being asked to step in and offer opinions on topics that they've never weighed in on up until this point. And I just wonder, Pat, maybe you can talk about your workforce. There's all sorts of talk about layoffs, even in very traditional, stable companies. There's all talks about an upcoming recession, right? That was just in the Wall Street Journal this morning where Donald Trump's like, well, maybe we need it, right? So how do you actually keep your workers motivated, engaged? How do you retain them in this world? How do you tap into that inner optimism when the world's looking a little bleak out there right now?
That's a hard one.
Oh, kidding.
That's a hard one.
Good luck, Pat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks.
that's why I give it to you, Pat.
You
Shouldn't
got
have-
this, Pat.
I shouldn't have wore the red jacket. I think it's got me.
You go first and everybody will just yes and you.
So this just recently happened at my company. We had a all hands for my HR team, And my CEO joined me and he sat in the audience and he was listening to the presentation. And we talked about sales and we talked about the finances. We had FP&A come in and talk about the, I want my team to understand the headwinds. What if we have a tariff? What if
Correct.
this? What if
Yeah.
that? We're trying to educate the cost of yes. If this does occur, what are our choices? My CEO wrapped it up beautifully, I thought. And he said, look, what we are certain of is that we're in an uncertain time. And we do not know what's going to happen in the next 6 months. What we do know is that we have opportunities in front of us today. We have opportunities to partner with our coworkers today. We have a mission in our company that saves lives. We know that there are some things you can control. Focus on those things, be optimistic, be compassionate, patient, and appreciate one another. And each day, make progress, because that's where you'll get your grit and your resilience, and you'll increase your optimism. And so we ended it with ways in which the team is going to fill their basket. Are you going to get some education? Are you curious to learn ukulele? That's what I did during COVID. Like, who would have thought ukulele? But it made me feel really good. It filled my cup. Someone wants to run a marathon. Someone else wants to solve a different problem. They're looking forward to their grandchild. So being conscious of what fills your cup and being optimistic helps you in these uncertain times.
I love that. That's really beautiful. In my coaching practice, I always tell people that your work is not your worth. Work is important and we should solve big problems, but you're more effective at work when you live a big, bold, interesting life. When you have hobbies, when you volunteer, when you're engaged, when you love something beyond your job title in your company, that's how you change the world. More importantly, that's how you change yourself. That advice, as my clients tell me, doesn't pay the bills. It's a mindset, but also a positive coping mechanism. I don't want to downplay that at all, but I do want to talk about the economic reality facing us in that uncertainty. And John, I wonder how you talk to your workforce, what they're saying, because when it comes to operations, benefits, the budget for skill development, many companies are making big cuts. So how do you keep people engaged and motivated when every aspect of the workforce is not only changing from AI, but is just changing from economic realities?
I think there's a level of leading with transparency. People are not naive. There's enough headlines out there. So I believe in lowering that waterline. And that's something that you should do personally as you build relationships with your team. We've all seen the iconic iceberg image. We just talk about our highlights at the top. But if we lower that waterline, we all have many of the same battle scars, battle wounds. And I think in that lowering of the waterline, you build a sense of community. If we talk to our employees as adults, which they are, help them understand how our business runs, where we make money, where we lose money, I think it allows them to be a part of the solution that we're trying to identify as we go forward. So my thing is just keep it real. And I'm a believer in this too shall pass. We are humans. We will continue to evolve and everything we do will continue to evolve. So there's a level of hope that we need to inspire within everyone.
I love that. There's a bit of synchronicity between you and Pat being on the stage here. Brian, backstage, we talked a little bit about this, and we talked about how some people feel there's an AI and economic apocalypse coming, and some feel, as many of you do, that this is going to be like the Industrial Revolution. I worry about telling a 55-year-old project manager, you might get steamrolled, but it's cool because the next generation is going to be okay. So where does the data show us with all of this? And is there really opportunity beyond the negative headlines?
As a leader, if you want to build trust, there's 3 magic words. I don't know. And I don't know the answer to your question, and neither does anybody else at this point in time.
Yeah.
That's the uncertainty.
There is undoubtedly massive reconfiguration that's going to happen. And there's a big difference between the firms that will invest in reskilling people, training people, giving them the support if they're willing to step into it to help them make that change and make that shift. If you can do that, then you're getting the benefit of retaining people who have experience and know-how, as well as positive engagement out of them. There are also firms that are going to do the rip and replace, right? You can see this already in some of the headlines because some people have done like, here's the 1,000 people we're laying off and here's the 2,000 people we're going to hire.
Yeah.
If you're doing rip and replace, you're also signaling something to employees, which is you're a gasket and you are replaceable. So you shouldn't expect that they're going to treat you as anything more than a paycheck either. And if they're not happy with what you're doing with them, especially the ones that are talented, who do have choices, will go someplace else. Yeah. So I think what we're facing though, more broadly,
clap louder.
More broadly, what we're facing though is as a society, are we actually going to invest in helping that transition happen? We haven't historically, and we should
Yeah.
all be concerned about the implications societally.
John, do you have something to add to that?
I agree. I think a lot of times we as leaders fill the space with words when we actually should lead with "I don't know." And that's that level of transparency and candor that is needed.
I want to add one thing in this conversation that sparked a thought. There's a huge cost to AI. That's a huge barrier to companies and how fast they can progress in this space. I believe in the theory of constraints. If you do have cost constraints, resource constraints, be transparent with those issues and allow your team to co-create solutions. When you do that, they are more creative, have higher buy-in, and more commitment to the outcomes. They learn new skills. So embrace constraints. If your budget is cut by 10%, cut it by 30 and see what your team would do. And then give them that extra 20% and see what they unlock.
Really great point. Brian, did you have something to add?
Stop saying efficiency.
Can I get an amen?
God, stop saying efficiency. If you say outcomes, which is what Pat was talking about, what are the goals that we've got? How are we going to grow this business? What are we going to do with it? Then you get people aligned about something that's positive. If you say efficiency, people hear layoffs, right? And that may be the intent. If it is, then you're back in that camp. But think about the language, think about how you talk to people, and think about how you enlist them in this.
I love that. As we start to wrap up the conversation, I think one of the things that has historically happened with HR and talent-focused leaders is that we focus historically on W-2 employees because that's our purview. But more and more people are part of a labor force that is not the W-2 economy, or they're not part of the labor force at all. And so I would implore all of you, if you haven't studied up on universal basic income, that is one area where I think you as human resources professionals and talent-focused people could learn about a new way of incenting our fellow citizens to still contribute and to still add value to our economy, even when they're not participating in that traditional economy. So if you don't know anything about it, Google UBI, find me. I'm incredibly passionate about it. And that's where you're really stepping into that intersection of work, power, politics, and money. So as we do wrap up the conversation, John, final closing thoughts.
I would say as we look at evolving technology, as we look at the mix of generations in the workforce, I have great hope in Gen Z. I have a lot of hope in what they will continue to do because they are a generation unlike others. I believe that they're very rooted in what they believe in. And they're quick to say, I don't know if I can say how I want to say it, but they're quick to say, forget it. Because they have Gen Z or Gen X parents, millennial parents that are like, you can come back home. You don't have to tolerate that. So I think that is a swing in the workforce that we have to be prepared for. So when I think about that, we also should strive to make our organizations a great place to work, but most importantly, a great place to be from. If you're a great place to work, you add it to that employee's toolkit. But guess what? When you become a great place to be from, you are the springboard to the next step in their career. And that helps us solve this retention piece because baby boomers staying 20 plus years is long gone. Gen Z is going to be 2 to 3 years and they're moving on. So think about how you are developing your retention strategies and incorporate that great place to work and great place to be from.
Really beautiful. Can we get a round of applause for John, please? Hey, Zane. Pat, why don't you wrap up your thoughts? What are you thinking about today?
Lean in with curiosity, optimism, and humanity. Just balance your IQ with your EQ and bring people along the journey with us. I think the transparency, the learning, I just haven't learned it yet. So I'm not in fear. I'm in curiosity mode. How can I make my workplace better through the journey? I'll make mistakes. I'm perfectly imperfect. But I know by looking at the data, the impact, being transparent, and knowing I want them to be net better off by having worked in my organization, we'll have better outcomes.
Amazing. Round of applause for Pat, please. And my dear friend Brian, take us home.
So from my perspective, everything we said here is part of the broader narrative over the past couple of days or yesterday and today, which is you're all here because you want to engage with each other. And you're also the type of people that want to engage with your teams. You're the types of folks that actually want to make a positive difference in how people work and lift people up. Please keep that spirit and please keep that going because it's actually on all of us as individuals to make a difference for the people that are near us. In times of turmoil, in times of change, all of us can have local impact that's really positive in people's lives. So thank you, all of you, and please keep going.
Quick round of applause for Brian. So good. We're ending with a note of optimism here. We realize that the world of work is hard, and I just want to say, I'm very cynical with what I do. I have a negative bias that's like, I'm known for it, but I'm pleased that you're here because just because we haven't fixed something yet doesn't mean we're not going to fix it at all. So all the things that Torrin talked about and more that you're going to hear will seem like insurmountable challenges, but I believe in you. That's why I'm here. And I think you believe in one another. And through this community, you can absolutely fix the world of work. So thank you very much. And thanks to the wonderful panel. We'll see you later. Bye.